An incredible new waitress exposed the arrogant millionaire. Her touching story will transform you. Sarah's hands trembled ever so slightly as she refilled a cup of coffee for a regular. Her mind was racing. Her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, needed school supplies, but the rent was due today, reminding her that one wrong step could send their already fragile world crashing down. The diner buzzed with familiar faces: old Mr. Thompson, who always ordered blueberry pancakes, and the motherly presence of Mrs. Jenkins, knitting in the corner booth. Yet, amidst the warmth of this community, the weight on her shoulders pressed heavily, and every cheerful smile felt like an added burden. How would she ever provide a good life for Lily with only her tips? Just then, the door swung open with a force that cut through the hum of conversation, and in strode Jack, donned in a designer suit that screamed arrogance. The whispers fell silent, patrons lowering their heads, as if in reverence. Sarah felt the familiar knot of anxiety grow tighter in her chest with every step he took toward his usual booth. In the past, she had seen him belittle her coworkers, pushing his privilege into their faces. The sight of him grating against the backdrop of her hard-working life sent a jolt of anger coursing through her. As she approached to take his order, the familiar feeling of dread crept in. Would he shoot her a derisive glance or make snide remarks about her apron? She could never tell if he resembled a man suffering under the weight of his own choices or one too far removed to feel the sting of vulnerability. Today, she felt an unsettling mixed disdain for his arrogance and a lingering curiosity about what lay beneath. "Just coffee, sweetheart," he said dismissively, leaning back in the booth, as if his entitlement rendered him above it all. She noticed the patrons' watch. Their unease mirrored her own, and it made her stomach twist. Did they see her as less because of her job? Were they all waiting for the inevitable humiliation? Her heart raced. She could feel the pulse of her internal conflict, to play the part of the accommodating waitress or confront the injustice. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah stood before him, the realization hit a moment of quiet reckoning amidst the storm. What if she didn't let him walk all over her? Would stepping out of line cost her tips? Her muscles tensed at the thought. Yet more than fear, there was fire building in her. She was tired of battling the whispers of doubt that intruded upon her dreams. "Jack," she began, steeling herself. The words felt alien on her tongue. "You don't have to treat people like this." The silence hung in the air, electrifying the diner. Was there a flicker of surprise crossing his face? For a moment, the tables turned, and their worlds collided. The patrons seemed to lean in, their collective breaths caught in anticipation, the tension thickening with each second. Her heart raced. The stakes felt impossibly high. Would she break through to him, or would his backlash push her right back to her place? As she stared into his eyes, a flicker of something deeper seemed to swim beneath the surface of vulnerability that felt startlingly human. Just as their worlds threatened to intertwine in a way that could change both of them, the door swung open once more, and another presence entered, the air thick with uncertainty. Would it be a savior or an intruder? The diner held its breath, and Sarah's resolve hung like a thread, ready to snap. As the door swung open, Sarah's attention shifted momentarily from Jack, her heart still pounding from the conflict burgeoning between them. The newcomer stepped inside, a figure draped in shadows and uncertainty, disrupting the fragile tension that clung to the diner like heavy fog. It was Kevin, a colleague from her past. They had shared shifts at a different diner years ago, before Sarah became a single mother and Kevin drifted toward a different path, one entwined with ambition that had eventually led him to start a small startup. They had lost touch, but now here he was, looking somewhat disheveled and breathless, as if he sprinted to the diner in a desperate bid for solace or distraction. "Sarah?" His voice was unsure, yet vibrant with the clipped enthusiasm of someone hoping to reconnect. She turned her head sharply, disoriented by the unexpected familiar face. Kevin. What are you doing here? Just got back to town. Thought I'd stop by and see if you were still working here, he replied, trying to peer around her to gauge the reactions around them. The patrons continued their quiet watch, their faces drawn in curiosity at this newcomer's presence. For an instant, Sarah's tension eased. Kevin was a reminder of a time before Lily, before becoming entrenched in anxiety about rent and bills. Briefly, she felt the spark of friendly banter they used to share, light, unburdened moments that facilitated laughter. I still am, she said with a small smile, though she sensed Jack's irritation radiating from the booth. He leaned forward, fixing his gaze on Kevin, the weight of righteous indignation flickering behind his eyes. Coffee, sweetheart, Jack interrupted with an irritated tone, dismissing Sarah as if she were a mere accessory in the room. She paused, torn. Should she stick to the safety of her routine or explore this unexpected thread of her former life rekindled in Kevin? The decision felt monumental, a growing battle between her past and present. Kevin, sensing her discomfort, stepped closer, his voice lowering, "You all right? How's everything with you?" She deflected, feeling the wall between her old life and current struggles begin to tilt precariously. "I've been busy with work. Just got a new contract," he replied, genuine excitement threading through his words. But his eyes held a knowing intensity, a silent recognition of the burden she carried. Sarah glanced back at Jack, whose impatience simmered in the air. There was a pull, a magnetic tension that beckoned her to step forward. Could this moment lead to something more than just a mundane workday? What if it could redefine her relationship with both Jack and her own self-worth? "Jack, if you'll excuse me, I need to finish this conversation," Sarah declared, standing a bit taller, as if her small act of defiance strengthened her resolve against the oppressive weight of the situation. Jack's eyes narrowed, surprised by her boldness, infuriated by her unwillingness to submit. "What? You think you can simply walk away?" he challenged, rising from his seat. Sarah felt the room tense again, a collective exhale held in disbelief. But she could neither relent nor retreat. Her heart pounded with equal parts fear and exhilaration. "Actually, yes," she responded. The diner was now a charged environment, the air thick with anticipation. She had crossed a threshold, an invisible line, and maintaining her stance felt like a test of her very identity. Just within that moment, as she locked gazes with Jack, she understood that this encounter held the potential not only to confront him but also to reclaim portions of herself that she had thought lost. Before she could process the depth of her resolve, Kevin placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of support that felt both innocent and invigorating. "Let us talk, Sarah," he urged softly. Now, faced with two intersecting paths, her past beckoning, while her present threatened, a decision awaited her. One she knew could redefine not just her day, but perhaps her entire future. As she stood at the precipice of choice, the diner's hum faded into a soft murmur, the world narrowing to this pivotal moment. The only question that echoed through her mind: would she confront the arrogant millionaire, or would she explore the unknown fragments of her past? As the moment teetered, Sarah prepared to make her choice, her heart racing with the weight of it all. The weight of Sarah's decision hung in the air like a breath held too long. Jack's challenging glare cut through the diner's soft hum, a harsh reminder of the life she had been striving to escape. She felt the pulse of a heartbeat, one that signified courage she hadn't known she possessed. Kevin's presence, though steady and reassuring, only added to the swirl of emotions battling for dominance within her. "Let us sit down," Kevin suggested, his tone gentle but firm, bringing her back to the moment. "We can find a quieter spot." For a fleeting second, Sarah hesitated, torn between the comfort of routine and the intrigue of rekindling a connection that had faded years ago. Yet the fire Jack had sparked within her ignited a resolve she couldn't ignore. "No, Kevin. I need to address this." The words surged with an unexpected strength, as if each syllable bolstered her belief in herself. There was something profoundly awakening in standing up for her own identity, apart from the confines of her job or relationships. Jack stepped closer, brazenly invading her space. "You think this little chat is worth disrupting our time? I'm paying good money here." His voice dripped with condescension, a remnant of the power he wielded over her life thus far. "Enough," Sarah replied, her voice unwavering. "You don't get to dictate who I speak to." The silence that followed was heavy, a collective breath held throughout the diner. Sarah felt Kevin's hand shift to her back, a grounding presence as she faced Jack, who stood with narrowed eyes, disbelief morphing into looming anger. This confrontation was no longer just about Jack, it was about her reclaiming her narrative. "You think you can just come in here and play the hero with your pathetic nostalgia?" Jack mocked, bitterness spilling from him like a disturbing tide. "You're still just a waitress. Don't you remember that?" A tide of anger washed over her, spurring something fierce within. "And you're still just a man belittling those who are trying to make a decent living," she shot back. The words resonated, filling the air with the raw energy of frustration and self-definition. Kevin shifted, concern lining his features, yet admiration gleamed in his eyes. "Sarah, maybe don't," she warned, holding up a hand. The frenetic intensity between her and Jack demanded all her focus. He was her hurdle to conquer, the embodiment of all her suppressed fears. "What is it, then? Do you want to walk away from all of this?" Jack pressed, sneering. "Back to the dreary job you pretend to love?" In that moment, a different kind of clarity struck her. The job was no longer a burden, it was a means to survive and raise Lily. But beyond survival, the recent encounter with Kevin illuminated a flicker of hope for something more purposeful, more vibrant. "I'm not walking away from anything," she asserted, her voice steady. "I'm building my life, my actual life." Jack's expression shifted, anger morphing into confusion, and then something resembling respect flickered across his face. For the first time, it appeared he wasn't sure what to say. The pulse of energy radiating in the diner seemed to shift, the weight of invisible chains beginning to loosen not just around Sarah, but those in the booth behind her. The thrill of defiance coursed through her veins. She wasn't just a waitress, she was carving her place in a world that often overlooked her. As the tension danced at the edge of fraying, Sarah turned to Kevin. "Can we talk outside?" The question hung in the air, needing no elaboration, a declaration of newfound independence. Jack's mouth opened, his protest lingered unformed on his lips, but she didn't relent to his demands anymore. Reclaiming her voice, reclaiming the right to choose her path, felt intoxicating. As they stepped out into the cool night air, a myriad of possibilities took shape in Sarah's mind. The thrill of navigating uncharted relationships, the prospect of ambition and choices once buried under layers of obligation, they all danced in tandem. "Sarah, you were unbelievable back there." Kevin's appreciation enveloped her, reinforcing a burgeoning belief in herself. "Thanks, but it's going to take more than one moment to break free," she confessed, some doubt still lingering like shadows in her mind. Yet beneath those shadows shimmered the broad horizon of potential that now lay open, and she couldn't shake the ever-present question, what more could she become, standing on this renewed ground? As the moment of clarity continued to settle, one thing became crystal clear: her journey was just beginning. Now, with the door swung wide to endless possibilities, she felt the tug of destiny call her forward into the unknown. Would she dare enter the arena of ambition that awaited, or would she keep one foot tethered to the comfort of the familiar? The path ahead gleamed with uncertainty, and yet she felt ready to embrace whatever lessons it had to offer. The air felt electric with possibilities as Sarah stood on the sidewalk, the diner's neon glow casting an otherworldly light around her. The distant sounds of traffic served as a backdrop to her racing thoughts. Every heartbeat echoed her new resolve, yet the weight of uncertainty loomed overhead like a dark cloud. "Let us walk," Kevin offered, motioning down the block. She nodded, grateful for the movement as it shifted her focus from stillness to action. As they strolled past closed storefronts, her mind replayed the confrontation. Each word exchanged with Jack felt like a thorn pulled from her side, the pain was sharp but numbed by clarity. Yet doubt crept in. What if this newfound courage was merely a fleeting moment, an illusion spun in the heat of the moment? Are you okay? Kevin's voice pulled her from her reverie. His concern blended with admiration, forming a warm cocoon around her frayed edges. Yeah, just exhilarated and scared, she admitted, her honesty unearthing layers of her vulnerability. It felt good to stand up to him, but I wonder if I can maintain this strength. Of course you can. You showed everyone in there who you really are, he encouraged, leaving a lingering warmth in her chest. You're not just a waitress, Sarah. You're capable of greatness. His words ignited something deep within her, sparking a flicker of ambition that she hadn't let herself fully acknowledge before. The idea of greatness felt distant, almost impossible when it had been eclipsed by self-doubt for so long. She opened her mouth to respond, but the reality of that aspiration was daunting. What did greatness even look like for her? What is stopping you from pursuing it? He inquired gently, that hit home. Why hadn't she pursued her dreams? The thought of her little girl, Lily, flashed in her mind. Every sacrifice she made had been to provide the best life for her. But what if finding her own path meant showing Lily the strength within her as well? Fear, I suppose, she finally said. Fear of failing again, fear of the unknown. A thought nipped at her. What if she reframed that fear? What if it became a catalyst, not a hindrance? A spark could turn into a fire if nurtured correctly. The idea of her own potential generated more heat in her veins than all the timid resignation she had previously accepted. Let that fear push you, not hold you back, Kevin replied, his gaze steady. This is the moment to redefine what you want. You've already taken the hardest step. His encouragement bolstered her. Yet a new question surfaced with startling clarity. What exactly did she want? Would you even believe I have a secret? She asked, a combination of lightness and truth punctuating her tone. What kind of secret? Kevin's curiosity piqued, leading her to unearth the facade she had wrapped around herself for too long. I've always wanted to write, you know. But I never gave myself permission to try, she confessed, breathing in memories of scribbled thoughts and neglected notebooks. Right? Kevin repeated, both intrigued and supportive. You should embrace that part of you. Stories can change everything. Could it be that simple? She felt the stirrings of a plan formulating in her mind with each passing second. The weight of her fears began to lighten, revealing a path wrought with creativity and purpose. Maybe I'll sign up for a class, she mused, imagining herself in a room filled with like-minded souls, exchanging ideas and words instead of just orders. Yes. Do it. You won't regret it, he affirmed, excitement evident in his tone. Sarah felt exhilaration building, amplifying with every encouraging word exchanged. As they continued to walk, she couldn't shake the sensation that this was a turning point, the beginning of embarking on her journey toward what she was destined to become, but lingering threads of doubt still remained, woven tightly into her aspirations. Was she prepared to face the imminent challenges that would come with this new adventure? With uncertainty swirling, she glanced at Kevin's encouraging smile but then turned to the night sky, where stars beckoned her forward into the abyss of what could be. The time had come to face not just her fears but her potential. Yet she was torn. Could she balance her responsibilities as a mother while nurturing this newfound passion? As the flutter of excitement danced at her fingertips, one truth crystallized: nothing worthwhile was easy, and the most profound transformations often demanded sacrifices. And there, in the cool night air, the gravity of her choice anchored her to the precipice of an important decision. Would she summon the courage to dive deep into her passion for writing and all that it could entail? Or would the shadows of doubt snuff out the burgeoning flame? The answers awaited her just out of reach, pulling her into an even more expansive abyss of her potential. The following morning, Sarah awoke with a mix of anticipation and anxiety swirling through her. The sunlight seeped through her window, casting a warm glow on the half-full notebook by her bedside. Each page possessed a quiet promise. They were waiting to be filled with stories, ideas, and her unfiltered thoughts. But dread loomed at the edges of her excitement, threatening to suffocate her creative urge. Lily's laughter echoed down the hallway, grounding her in the moment. She rose, pushing aside the self-doubt that clung to her like a soggy blanket. As she entered the kitchen, the aroma of pancakes floated in the air, a testament to her daughter's blossoming independence. It was here, amidst the everyday chaos, that Sarah felt the flicker of an idea taking shape. Perhaps this wasn't just about writing, but weaving a legacy of courage for her daughter to absorb. "Good morning, Mommy. I made you pancakes," Lily exclaimed, her wide eyes sparkling with pride. Sarah ruffled her hair and sat at the table, but she found it hard to concentrate on food. "I have a big decision to make today," she replied, then hesitated. Should she share this newfound drive with her daughter, or protect her from the potential disappointment of another failed ambition? "What's the decision?" Lily asked, her curiosity palpable. "I think I might start taking a writing class," Sarah said, the words spilling out before she could reel them back in. The admission tasted foreign yet liberating. "Like a real author?" Lily's enthusiasm was infectious, igniting a flame within Sarah that was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Yes, just like that. But I need to work hard. There's a chance I might not be very good," Sarah warned, her voice faltering with the fear of failure. "But you are good. You always tell me to try new things," Lily replied, her unwavering belief feeding Sarah's desire to embrace her dreams. Perhaps Kevin was right, what started as fear could mutate into a powerful motivation. As the morning passed, Sarah stewed in thought. The day seemed to unravel the possibilities before her, classes, workshops, and the potential connections she could nurture. Yet, as she immersed herself in these thoughts, she felt isolation coiling around her. Her life had revolved around others for too long. Writing felt like a selfish leap, an indulgence. "Mommy?" Lily interrupted her reverie, eyes drawn to the stack of notebooks piled haphazardly in the corner. "Can we read one of your stories together? You said you'd show me." The request jolted Sarah. She had always hidden her passion from her daughter, as if confessing it would render it real and, thus, vulnerable. Yet the thought of sharing her words felt significant, a bridge linking her world to Lily's. "Sure thing, sweet pea," she said, her heart racing. She walked to the bookshelf, scanning the titles until her fingers landed on a small, well-worn notebook filled with fragments of ideas and passages, but as she opened it and began to read aloud, she became acutely aware of the weight of each word. The themes of self-discovery and empowerment echoed her own struggles. She could almost feel Lily absorbing the lessons embedded within the tales. They were not just stories but blueprints for resilience. When she finished, the room felt heavier with a newfound connection. For the first time, Sarah allowed herself to envision her writing not merely as an act of personal expression but as a means of shaping her daughter's understanding of the world. "I want to write, Lily. I want my words to mean something," she stated, feeling the stirrings of commitment settle within her. Suddenly, the easygoing atmosphere shifted as her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. It was a notification from an online writing group she had joined weeks prior but had never engaged with. "Weekly Writing Challenge, share your story." A rush of fear spiraled through her at the thought of exposure. Just then, the sound of Lily's squeal of excitement broke through her internal cacophony. "Let's do it together. We can be a writing team." Despite the swell of dread, her daughter's enthusiasm was contagious. Could this be the solidarity she needed? Sarah sat back, her resolve strengthening. Maybe vulnerability could breed courage not just in herself, but in Lily as well. Where would writing take them, she wondered. Would it be a haven or a battleground? The specter of judgment loomed on the horizon, but she felt determined to step beyond it, a leap of faith into creativity. She reached for her phone and began to draft her response to the challenge. Words poured out in a flow she couldn't quite understand, a catharsis initiated by the mere act of writing. Whatever came next, she was ready to confront it head-on with pen in hand and her heart on her sleeve, but as she pressed send, her fingers trembled. It felt like an unveiling, a piece of herself laid bare for the world. What awaited her after this small act of bravery could either liberate or entrap her? She had defied the comfort of her cocoon, and now the unknown loomed large. Would this decision propel her forward, or would the shadows of doubt rear their heads once more? The answer awaited as the clock ticked, marking the beginning of her journey into a deeper exploration of self, one that promised adventure but also uncertainty. The week rolled on, each passing day feeling like an intricate tapestry woven with both fear and determination. After hitting send on her submission, Sarah's mind was a whirlpool of possibilities and self-doubt. Each time her phone buzzed, her heart raced. What if someone responded? What if they didn't like what she wrote? Each scenario played out with clarity, but amidst the chaos, an ember of purpose flickered to life. As the weekend approached, she felt the pressure build. Being a writer required time, focus, and an unwavering belief in one's abilities, all of which felt elusive. Yet, she understood that inaction would only feed her insecurities. Armed with a resolve that felt both foreign and exhilarating, she decided to carve out specific writing hours over the weekend. This was not just her personal development at stake, it was about setting an example for Lily. "Mommy, will you be home tomorrow?" Lily's small voice pulled Sarah from her thoughts. "Absolutely. I'll be writing, but I promise we will have some fun together too," she replied, determined to balance her ambitions with her responsibilities. The commitment was both frightening and reassuring. It was the first step toward building a routine that embraced both her passions and her role as a mother. Late that night, she found herself enveloped in the soft glow of a desk lamp, the notebook spread open before her. As she wrote, the words began to take shape, forming a narrative that felt unmistakably hers. It was here that she confronted her vulnerability. Each sentence required her to dig deeper, to unearth experiences and emotions she had long buried. But the early drafts laid bare her insecurities. She felt the sting of inadequacy every time she read her own work. The lack of sophistication in her prose echoed like a taunt in her mind. Yet, she pressed on, reminding herself that this was a process. With every iteration, every cross-out and revision, Sarah unearthed little pockets of strength she didn't know existed. Writing was a crucible that demanded accountability yet rewarded persistence. By Sunday, the narrative had morphed. It transformed into something richer, perhaps a reflection of her own journey intertwined with the fictional characters she created. While the outside world remained a swirling sphere of judgments and expectations, within the cocoon of her writing, she felt empowered. This was her safe space, a realm where she defined her own boundaries and constructs. Later, while seated on the floor with Lily, compiling a scrapbook of their weekend adventures, Sarah found herself explaining the concept of storytelling. "Every story has a heart, a struggle, and a lesson learned," she said, hoping to instill a sense of creativity in her daughter. "Like when you learn to ride your bike?" Lily nodded vigorously. "The heart is the best part. But what if the hero doesn't win? Then it's up to them to find the courage and resilience to keep going," Sarah said softly, studying her daughter's wide-eyed expression. The clarity of her words resonated deeply. She realized that sharing her narrative wasn't just a solitary endeavor but a chance to instill values of perseverance in Lily. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah opened her emails to find a response. The excitement surged anew, competing with vulnerability, as she clicked it open. "Thank you for sharing your story, Sarah. It resonated with many of us. Would you consider expanding it for publication consideration?" Stunned, she reread the words, feeling a wave of disbelief wash over her. The validation felt significant, yet it also opened a floodgate of concerns. What if she wasn't ready? What if this was just a pipe dream destined to crumble under scrutiny? The weight of the moment settled on her shoulders. She had embraced a new chapter in her life, but the stakes felt suddenly elevated. This was no longer mere exploration, it felt like the precipice of change. What would be her next move? Would she dive deeper into this opportunity or retreat into comfort? The decision loomed large, and with it came anxiety, excitement, and the undeniable need to rise to the challenge before her. Only tomorrow would tell. As dawn broke, Sarah's mind was already racing, mapping out both a plan and a reluctance she couldn't shake. How could she embrace this chance while sowing seeds of doubt in her mind? The email loomed like an unresolved equation, taunting her with its potential yet threatening to unravel everything she thought she knew about herself. She brewed her morning coffee, its steam curling into the air like the dreams she had nurtured for so long. The aroma filled the kitchen, and as she took her first sip, a small spark of clarity ignited. This was more than just an opportunity, it could redefine her entire journey as a writer. It wasn't merely about being published, it was the confrontation with herself, a beckoning to step from the shadows of doubt into a realm where her voice mattered. Sitting at her writing desk, she opened her notebook and leafed through the pages filled with her initial drafts. Each scribble echoed moments of self-discovery, reminders of her growth. This new commitment would demand more than just words, it required her to be the architect of her narrative, crafting not just a story, but presenting a piece of her own truth to the world. It's time to confront the fears, she whispered to herself, a mantra against the rising tide of anxiety. She had taught Lily about resilience in storytelling, now it was her turn to embody the lesson. What was it that held her back? The fear of failure? Perhaps the suggestion that success was conditional, contingent upon external validation. These thoughts danced around her mind, forming a web that both ensnared and inspired. With deliberate breaths, she pulled up the email once more. The cursor blinked expectantly, mocking her hesitation. What if she filled the space with words that represented authentic vulnerability? With a newfound resolve, she began typing her response, detailing her excitement about the proposed expansion and reaffirming her intention to delve deeper into her work. As she transitioned to her writing, a fresh wave of creativity washed over her. Words flowed unrestrained, visions of characters interlacing with her life's struggles emerged on the page. The narrative no longer felt fragmented but unified, a side-by-side exploration of her own experiences and the fictional lives she crafted. This was her chance to infuse her story with sincerity and connection, attributes she deeply valued in her personal life and now aimed to reflect in her writing. Days turned into nights as she dedicated hours to her craft, each session layered with progress and self-discovery. In the midst of this productive surge, doubts occasionally crept in, whispering reminders of her fragility. True success, however, was not about eradicating those doubts but learning to navigate through them. Sometimes, after quiet moments with Lily, Sarah would share snippets of her writing, gauging the reactions of her young companion. One night, Lily's eyes sparkled as she listened. "Mommy, I think you should tell them everything, the hard parts too. That's what makes it real." Sarah paused, the weight of her daughter's insight settling within her. "You're right. It's the struggles that shape us." This exchange served as a grounding reminder, emphasizing the value of authenticity over perfection. With every draft, she began to recognize something significant. She held hidden competencies dormant until now, nuances of emotion, fortitude that emerged in her vulnerability. Writing morphed into a tool for empowerment, reflecting the multifaceted layers of who she was becoming. It became a discovery road, not merely a pursuit of external achievements but a testament to her internal evolution. The morning of the deadline loomed ahead, the final opportunity to polish her now comprehensive narrative. Sprinkled within her words was an acknowledgement of her fears and triumphs, a synthesis of courage and authenticity woven into every sentence. As she prepared to submit the finalized piece, anticipation bubbled within her. This was at the moment where she not only shared her story but embraced her identity as the author of her life. Yet, as she clicked send, a sudden thought pierced through the elation. Would this leap bring about the change she craved, or was it merely the prelude to an even more daunting ordeal? The urge to explore this newfound possibility hummed through her veins, but was she prepared to face whatever consequences lay ahead? Just when it seemed she had mastered her craft, the horizon unveiled a question that both unsettled and ignited her. What awaited her in the realm where her voice finally broke free? A week dripped by, each moment stretching into an anxious eternity. The silence following her submission surrounded Sarah like a thick fog, both comforting and oppressive. She immersed herself in routine tasks, yet, each page she turned or meal she prepared was a constant reminder of the vulnerability she had laid bare before the world. Doubt, once a quiet whisper, had transformed into a roaring chorus, challenging her aspirations and mocking her efforts. Had she been too blunt with her truth? Would the readers perceive her as weak or, even worse, unworthy? With every sunrise, she pressed forward, but fears thrummed in her veins like an erratic heartbeat. Amid moments of chaos, Lily found solace in reading together. On particularly challenging evenings, they would nestle into a cocoon of blankets, and Sarah would cradle her daughter with stories, ones that balanced humor with poignant lessons. They were wise enough to see the world was stitched with hope and despair alike, and tonight was no different. As they shared another story, the pubescent struggles mirrored her own burgeoning fears, exposing the battle between expectation and reality. "Mommy, do you think they'll like your story?" Lily asked, her wide eyes framed with innocence. Sarah hesitated, the question igniting uncertainties long concealed. "I hope so, sweet girl. But sometimes, it's not about them liking it. It's about speaking the truth and showing them who you really are. Will they get to see the parts where it was hard?" Lily was persistent. "Yes," Sarah replied, her voice solidifying with newfound conviction. "It's crucial they see the hard parts too. That's life full of challenges and triumphs." In that exchange, Sarah felt a flicker of renewed purpose. The weight of her fears transformed into fuel. She couldn't hide behind polished words anymore. Her writing could offer insight into the struggle, not only for her audience but for herself. The next morning, she returned to her desk with a vengeance. Clarity flooded her mind as she volleyed between her fiction and her experiences, stitching her narrative even tighter. She envisaged her readers not just as spectators but as companions on this journey. Each keystroke was an offering, a bid for connection, a space where her words became invitations. As she poured details from her heart, she uncovered deeper aspects of her identity. She realized that her most profound battles, fear of inadequacy, yearning for validation, were universal truths. Writing wasn't merely an expression but a means of dismantling that web of worry that bound her. Days turned into creative bursts, with Sarah experimenting with styles, weaving humor through heartaches, and anchoring her narrative in both the relatable and the profound. It was exhilarating, and secretly terrifying. Each draft became a mirror reflecting not just a writer's journey but an intimate exploration of the human experience. Then, the breakthrough arrived. She found herself stepping boldly into the incredible ordinary moments that defined her life, sharing frivolous anecdotes about waiting tables, juxtaposed against darker fragments of uncertainty. One stormy afternoon, as rain tapped insistently against the window, an email notification blinked on Sarah's screen. Her heart surged as she opened it. The publisher had responded, and adrenaline coursed through her body, mingling anticipation with fear. But before she fully absorbed the content, a shadow flickered across her mind. What if their feedback contradicted everything she envisioned? What if they desired a more palatable story? The very thought threatened to unravel the delicate threads of her renewed confidence. Yet, the weight of her daughter's soft insistence echoed within her. "Mommy, tell them everything." With a deep breath, she resolved to read the response, ready to confront whatever reality awaited her. Would it affirm her journey or challenge her resolve? The moment of reckoning danced just beyond her reach. What awaited her in the realm laid bare by her courage? The email preview revealed a few lines, enough to send a shiver of uncertainty up her spine. As Sarah clicked through, each word morphed into sensations, a blend of hope and dread, like standing at the edge of a precipice. The publisher had laid out a critique, one that both acknowledged her brave narrative and urged a rethinking of her presentation. They celebrated her courage yet suggested she ease the intensity of her self-exposure. "Make it more uplifting," they urged, their words reverberating with the subtle suggestion that perhaps honesty was too raw, too unsettling. With each line, her heart sank deeper into an abyss of doubt. The essence of her story, the hard moments, the feelings of inadequacy felt at risk of being diluted. Her thoughts spiraled. What if they didn't see her journey as a testament to resilience? What if they only saw a woman struggling, not a warrior battling her fears? She could sense the glint of the prestigious opportunity blurring under the weight of their expectations. Was this how it felt to be on the cusp of transformation, only to be pulled back by the very people meant to uplift her? Lily wandered into the room, sensing the shift in her mother's energy. "Mommy? Are you okay?" Tears welling up, Sarah waved her daughter closer. "Yeah, honey. Just thinking about my story." Lily narrowed her eyes. "But remember, it's your story first. You have to tell it your way." "Right," Sarah said, conjuring the flicker of courage ignited during their last conversation. This child, innocent yet perceptive, grounded her. It steeled her resolve. "You're right, sweet girl." For the first time since opening the email, she felt the brave flicker of something greater than fear, the urge to confront those expectations. The urge to reshape the narrative not just in the eyes of the publisher but in her own. That evening, she settled into her familiar writing space, determined to carve out the raw truths. There was an elemental power in her honesty, one that could neither be polished nor ignored. In the following days, she began crafting her responses to the publisher's feedback, transferring the volatile energy she felt into each line. Instead of backtracking, she navigated deeper into her darkest moments, her feelings of inadequacy and doubt, using humor to braid them with vibrant experiences of daily life, a waiting table story strewn with humility and grit juxtaposed against the luminosity of her dreams. Days turned into nights filled with fervent typing and introspection, fueled by promise and fear. Each revision became a proving ground of sorts, a space to remind herself of her worth, to dislodge any lingering shadows of insecurity. As she peeled back layers of expectation, she not only clarified her narrative but discovered a strength she didn't know she possessed, but just as clarity surfaced, new questions began to rise, gnawing at her resolve. Would she maintain the integrity of her voice in the face of their feedback? Could she resist the urge to conform to a more palatable form of storytelling? As her editing unfolded, another email pinged into her world, this time a meeting request from the publisher. The moment felt pivotal, a stage was set, and she was about to step into the spotlight. The prospect of facing her critics, articulating her vision, and confronting what had felt like a fracture in her confidence loomed large. Sarah paused, contemplating her next steps. It would be a chance to reclaim her narrative, but was she ready? The time had come not just to defend her story but to redefine how she viewed herself in it. The stakes gathered like storm clouds, brooding just outside her window. Would she have the strength to face them down, or would she retreat into the shadows of doubt yet again? Sarah entered the meeting room with newfound determination coursing through her veins. Today marked the culmination of her journey, a testament not only to her writing but to her evolution as a person. Gone was the anxious waitress who cowered under Jack's dismissive glare. In her place stood a woman ready to assert her narrative with unyielding grace. The publishers were seated around a large table, their expressions a mix of curiosity and reservation. As she took her place, their gazes felt both intimidating and liberating. Ironically, it was this very moment that crystallized a truth she had been wrestling with since beginning her writing journey. Fear had been a constant companion, but it no longer dictated her story. "Thank you all for meeting with me," Sarah began, her voice steady and confident. "I received your feedback, and I truly appreciate your insights. However, I want to share why my story matters to me the way it does." Her heart pounded against her ribcage as she elaborated on the importance of the raw moments she had penned. Each struggle, every moment of self-doubt carried weight. Success isn't always uplifting, it's often messy and imperfect. That's the authenticity I aim to achieve. I want to resonate with readers who see themselves in my journey. As she spoke, she observed their facial expressions shift. The intrigue in their eyes grew evident, mirroring her growing conviction. They were listening, really listening, evaluating the potential of her words as if they were newly woven threads in the fabric of life. She concluded with, "This is not just my story, it's a universal quest for validation and strength. I believe it can inspire others to embrace their own vulnerabilities." The air tightened, the gravity of her words hanging heavily as the silence stretched afterward. One of the editors leaned forward, a spark igniting in her gaze. "That's what we want, to publish stories that reflect real experiences, struggles that inspire connection. We want your authenticity, Sarah. It's the rawness that can elevate your narrative." The wave of relief was almost overwhelming. In that singular moment, Sarah felt seen, valued. Her transformation from waitress to author was no longer a distant dream, it was happening right here, right now. She had proved her worth, confronted her fears, and reclaimed her narrative, not just for herself but for others who shared her journey. As the meeting concluded, the editors expressed enthusiasm about moving forward. As she stepped out, Sarah was enveloped by a rush of accomplishment. She had faced powerful figures head-on, claimed her existence, and emerged triumphant. Back at the diner, she looked around at the familiar booths, the comforting blend of laughter and conversation. This place, once a source of anxiety, had birthed her courage. She found herself smiling at old Mr. Thompson as she served him, the knot of unease loosened by the weight of her recent success. Each filled coffee cup felt like a nod to her accomplishments. At home, Lily bounded to her, wide-eyed and exuberant. "Mommy, can I tell you something amazing?" "What is it, sweet girl?" Sarah asked, inviting her into the warmth of shared excitement. "I told my class about your story. They all loved it. And I said my mommy is an author." A swell of pride bloomed in her chest, glowing radiantly alongside Lily's infectious spirit. This was more than personal victory. It was the creation of a new legacy, one of resilience and courage anchored in authenticity. In that moment, she embraced her daughter tightly, realizing that she had become the woman she had always wanted to be, a beacon of strength for Lily to aspire to. Together, they stepped toward a future without the shadows of fear dimming their light. Sarah was no longer just a waitress, she was an author, a storyteller, and a role model. She would forge ahead, ready to share her words with the world, equipped with the solid confidence that had blossomed through her struggles. This was a new chapter, marked by the promise of growth and endless possibilities. Now, as you lean into your own personal journey, remember this moment of triumph. If you relate to Sarah's story, you need to subscribe now to the channel to follow her journey and witness more incredible tales of transformation. Leave a like now to nourish our passion for storytelling and help spread the word. Take a moment to comment your thoughts and theories about this conclusion. What inspired you most in Sarah's transformation? And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who could use the encouragement of personal growth stories. Your support is vital as we continue to tell stories that uplift and inspire.